super happy to have our first time, second appearance guest today, Tom Shallcross. And this guy is everything real estate. So if you don't know him, you need to come and meet him after we get done talking. He's a realtor, flipper, host of the Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast. Did I miss anything else? Awesome. Family man. He has 4 kids, so none of you guys have any excuses unless you have 5. And I usually like to start out and get a kind of a zoomed out picture of what you are doing right now as a agent, as a flipper, as a buy and hold investor, and just kind of give us like a high level overview of where you're at. And then we can kind of go back and dissect how you got there.
Sure. So Tom Shallcross, predominantly focused on the Northside of Chicago. So call it the lake, run it all the way out to O'Hare, probably anything north of Fullerton. And that's where we play. We predominantly look to buy small multifamilies, which I would consider like a 2 to 12 unit. That's a very good spot for us where the big boys don't want to come down, and there's a certain amount of capital, there's some amount of money needed where a house hack is not going to buy anything, right? So that's kind of the place we look to target. Single family homes in that same area, we look to flip them. That's my income. That's how I make a living, flipping houses and from a commission as an agent. And then I have my small portfolio of buy and holds, as I mentioned, and I also work with the company Drexel Properties on much larger buildings. That's partnering up with someone to buy a 40-unit corporate building, having a small piece of the pie. So kind of all things real estate related, from acquisition to operations.
And what are you doing most right now? Are you flipping properties? Or are you holding on to them?
So to be clear, we want to hold as many properties as we can. Like that's the long-term game, is have a bunch of buildings, have them paid off, and go through your kids, and then you figure it out. So that's the goal. We kind of take whatever we're given, though, right? Inventory is very hard right now. In a perfect world, let's say, yeah, we're going to do 8 flips, buy 8 buildings a year. Sometimes that's 2 and 4, 2 and 8, 2 and 6. If the world doesn't work, it's perfect, symmetrical way that you want it. So right now we have 7 rehabs going on. 3 of those are flips, 4 of those are apartment buildings.
And what size are they?
Really?
As far as project size, purchase price, that type of like average range?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do, the ARVs can be in the 7 figures. So a lot of it's going to be, we buy a building for 600, we put 500 into it, and we sell it off at 1.4, 1.5. Like that's like a very typical type of equation for us. We're doing on some of these rehabs where we're getting more and more creative, trying to make deals work. We have one in Lakeview we bought for $850, and it's going to be $725, $750 rehab. It's like these are big. We do big, heavy rehabs. That's where we can create a spread between what we're in for and what the ERVs do.
Yeah, so 6-digit rehabs almost always.
Yes.
Yeah, so those are monster rehabs. I think for me, that's an awesome place to be working to get towards. And because I think as you get to bigger rehabs, you get to bigger profits, usually if things go properly.
And bigger risk.
Yeah.
We're both sides. No, it's kind of come out of, we started flipping bundles. We started on the south side doing, buy for 50 and appraise out at 150. We do that all day long. And then we started doing bundles of buying quarters. And as competition keeps getting harder or more competitive, we kept looking for ways to get better. One of the superpowers I have is I have a partner, Chris Clancy, who's a phenomenal general contractor, just amazing. So we lean into that very hard, and we're comfortable taking on more risk. We're comfortable taking on these bigger projects because we now have a track record of doing it. Even when we started, we looked at it as the outcome. Like, all right, there's less people who have the stones to take on a 300K rehab, let's do it, right? And then once you can prove it out a few times, it becomes the same process, the same thought process when we're buying 50K homes, right? We're adding a zero to everything, but everything else is the same.
Can you go back to the beginning? What year did you think about real estate, and when did you get started? Did you have a W-2 job first? What did that look like for you?
Sure. So I bought my first condo. I was 22. This was in 07, where everyone can buy whatever they want. It's very easy. And I literally bought it on top of the market, like the worst possible time. I was living in the city, had a job in Plainfield. I bought a little condo down there because it was cheaper to drive. And we house acted. We had buddies living down there. It's kind of an extension of the college place. It was literally the worst time to buy. And that kind of was salty for me. Then when everything went down, I was like, that sucks. And then I sat out for the the greatest time to buy real estate was 09 to 2013. I didn't buy anything. So, but fast forward, I had a very good W-2 job. I had a buddy in the flipping house. I was a private money guy. We were splitting profits. I was starting to see what he was making on these. There's a guy who I just drink beers with. I was like, dude, this is insane. That's what piqued my interest and got me involved in the game. So I had a W-2 job up until almost about 2 years ago. I was straddling both lines for as long as I could for that safety reason of having good income coming in. It makes you more powerful and it allows you to take on more opportunity.
What was your W-2 job? Did that translate to real estate at all? And did you have any advantages because of it? Because I'm always looking, when people are asking me how to make that transition, I think oftentimes they already have a skill in some way, shape, or form that can translate to real estate. And if there's a way they can leverage that skill, part of their W-2, it makes it quite a bit easier to make that transition.
Yeah, so I was in sales for a tech company. There's definitely some carryover there, right? Like I have no problem, even to this day, just getting on the phone and dial. I know it's probably uncomfortable with a lot of people in this room, but there's an end goal that I'm going towards, but this is a necessary step to get there. So when getting out there and just kind of, for lack of better words, grinding, like that was something that I was doing important.
And so you got your first condo in 2007 with no kids, correct? Were you married at the time?
Shortly after.
Shortly after, okay. And then you didn't invest again until 2013-ish?
Yeah.
2013, so you had a 5-6 year gap. And then you did private money lending, and that was 10 years ago. So, and then after you did private money lending, when was your next purchase of your own property?
Probably 7-ish years ago. Like we started on the south side, flipping homes in the Pullman area, down in the 606, 17, and some of these areas where you learn a lot of lessons pretty quickly.
What was the biggest lesson you learned?
You delicate with my words here. Especially when you're having rental properties, they call it like C areas. 80% of the people are just having this conversation. 80% of the people are great. 10% can go either way, and there's just 10% that are just not good people, right? And then we're very tenant-friendly state here. Like those are true headaches in the so what you can do to be extra cautious to eliminate those headaches, like you take every precaution necessary.
So I think one of the challenges is always balancing your W-2 job and what you're doing on the side. How did you do that? Because you were probably close to having a child at that point as well. What did that look like for you? Did you get a lot of support from your wife? What did your kind of like family dynamics look like in order for you to invest in real estate and hold a full-time W-2 job?
Yeah, so yes, I think before I directly answer the question, like what I had going for me on the real estate side of things was I was very active. I was going to these meetups all the time. And I was able to put together a very good team. I had the general contractor, which is a huge piece of the puzzle. Like everyone here who's done rehabs can say, like, yes, that is the piece that I missed. So having that taken care of was a huge piece. I had Mark Ainley, who's the co-host with me on the Northside of Chicago podcast. He was managing like 30 to 40 units down there at the time. So I had the property management side of it done. And basically, I had Renault lending me money. I basically had to find deals. So it got down to a point where all I had to do was this one task. If I can get the train moving, there's more of a oversight role or a checking in type of role as opposed to having to run point on all those things. So that just helped keep that simple. And yes, you give up money, right? Pay your DC, well, you pay the management fee, but that allowed me to scale. So what real estate wasn't this huge time suck to me. I can still focus on family, the W-2, everything else in life.
So what did that time commitment look like, I guess? Because did you have your real estate license at the time as well?
No.
So no real estate license. You were just finding deals through the MLS, or like, what's the easiest way to start finding a deal? I think that's everyone's biggest problem, even right this second. Where do they look and how do they find deals when they're getting going?
Yeah, the answer now is, for me now, is a lot more network relationships, and you kind of build up where people come to you. When you're first starting, it's finding who the wholesalers are, the good and the bad. Because even the bad guy will have 2-3 deals that you think about. It's getting on those lists. I was very big into getting on the list source, getting on the prop screen, getting information, scrubbing it, and just having a concentrated list of like 100 names. And then just personally be the guy reaching out, whether it be, if they had like a little company, you can find them on LinkedIn, you can find their company website. If it was just an individual mom and pop, you usually get the phone number, make sure it's on the do not call and reach out.
So you were kind of doing anything and everything you could to find a deal at that point.
Yeah. And also at that point too, like you could scrape the MLS better than you could today. Like, so that was an option. Like, I would say half our deals were still just low cash offers from MLS deal because it was a different environment 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's a misconception or it just makes it hard is a lot of people are trying to do too many things at once. I talked to someone, I think just yesterday, and they were trying to make calls. And I think what you just said resonated with me really well. It's like, find the people who already have the deals. There are people who are already wholesaling at volume who have good deals. I can give anyone a list of 5, 6, 7, 8 wholesalers. I'm sure you can too. And they already have deals. Like even now, there's deals coming out every day from wholesalers. So if you want to wholesale, my advice is to wholesale and then to flip. Or if you want to flip, then go find wholesalers and do that, opposed to doing too many things at once. Did you find it troublesome trying to do all that at once and have a full-time job? Or what would you recommend if someone's getting going?
If you're getting going, leverage other people, right? Leverage the wholesalers, leverage agents, especially, it's a little different when you're investing. If you're flipping though, to this day, even though I'm licensed, anyone who brings us a deal, we give it to them on the back, right? So now put yourself in that agent's shoes. They have a property that's in the market tomorrow, $600K, it's beat up, and they know they can give it to me or 10 other guys. They know that in 9 months, they got a $1.5 million listing sitting with them if they go our route, right? Like that's very powerful. Like we get their incentives aligned with that. If we give up that commission to entice them, so everyone's incentives are aligned, right? So that's like an example of like we just leverage other people, whether it's agents, whether it's wholesalers, whether it's someone who can find a deal but it's not in there. Even just talking to other investors. This doesn't fit my buy box. It's not my criteria. The more you can get on other people, I feel it doesn't pay dividends tomorrow, but if you do that consistently, it pays off 2 months, 9 months, 3 years from now. And, you don't know the time it will pay off.
Yeah, one of the things I was just thinking about when you're talking about is, intentionally building out your team. And for me, like when a business has their people, they have an org chart. And I don't think, I know myself, it's like, I was never intentional about saying, okay, this person is my property manager. This is the person I'm going to call as a contractor. This is my real estate agent, and being extremely intentional about that. And I don't know if anyone's doing that, if you've ever thought about it, but I mean, I think it's an amazing idea to be like, I know who I'm calling when I need this. And if I don't know, and that person is good at what they do, they probably know who to call. I don't think there's anything, like you said, more important than leveraging human capital. Everyone I've found who is really good at what they do knows a bunch of other people who are really good at what they do at that specific task. So whether it's property manager, real estate agent, how did you find these people? So you went to meetup events just like this, and you just walked up to people and introduced yourself and were just able to slowly start building your team?
Yeah, that's part of it. And then even just going on, who in your networking you know already is doing it well, right? You see them on social media, you gotta be careful, right? There's a bunch of posers out there, but you can go on LinkedIn, you can go on Instagram, you can find people who are doing this, right? You can find the people we've interviewed on the podcast, like they're out there. No, people aren't hiding. A lot of people who are doing well, they're usually incentivized to show the world they're doing well, right? Because they want more business. So, they're there. It's not some secret hidden, it's not like some hidden thing, like they're out there and it's your job to go find.
Did you have to make a lot of sacrifices along the way? And was there any sacrifices that come to mind that were very tough to make?
No, and then that's why I love the W2, because this is easier. Like I haven't missed a T-ball game yet. Like this is yes, real estate can be a pain in the ass and it can be very time consuming at times, but it's on your time, right? That's the whole goal. So I think that part's actually very rewarding.
So no sacrifices.
I wouldn't say no sacrifice. It's not like I don't have that. Everyone's got their oh shit moment and like I can't believe like I don't know, I don't have it.
Yeah, so you were able to leverage other people, right, and really let them do what they were good at. I don't know if I've talked to someone else who just already had their team put together so well, where you didn't have to do much outside of find a deal and network, right? Wouldn't you say that's kind of your unique ability?
Yeah, and that's what I was doing in corporate, right? Like that. So that's you sit down, you make a list of like, all right, if I want to be here, this is that happen. What can I do? What do I suck at? Okay, let's go solve that problem. Right. And like don't overcomplicate it.
Did you have any objections to leaving your job? Was there anything you needed to leave it? Was it a dollar amount of passive income? Was it a certain number of flips at a certain value? Or what gave you the confidence to walk away?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So I left during COVID, and for my old job, I used to have to travel for work. So going 6 months of not traveling, it was like all right, hold on a second. You keep telling yourself this is a big deal, this is a big deal. Then when you don't do it, it's like, whoa, like I don't have to get on a plane. Let's accelerate getting out of here. Like all of a sudden, like that got me going a lot more. We were doing well already with the real estate. Passive income started to get higher, where it's not covering expenses, but it's a good safety net. But yeah, there's still hesitation, man. There's 4 kids, medical bill. My medical bills, my healthcare for the month is more than my mortgage, and I live in a house where I built. Like it's a nice house. Like so, there are serious things to consider with it that make you pause. But at the end of the day, you make a jump.
Yeah. That's crazy. Your insurance is more than your mortgage. Is that because you have so many kids, or is it because you have bad insurance? Like I mean, seriously, insurance is a huge issue when you're trying to leave. I mean, that's insane to me that's how much it costs. Like, I feel like that's what keeps a lot of people at their job is because of that. Like, what resources can you find to get better insurance?
It's insane. Like, think about like the guy who's like working for like a roofer. He wants to start his own roofing company. Like, screw. Like you just go without insurance. Like if he's got 4 kids, it's not consistent.
Okay, and so
I can sit here and complain about it, but it is like it really stops a lot of people.
So where are you at right now as far as rentals go? How many do you have?
All right, so I can sit here and say like I have hundreds of rentals because I've partnered up on some of these bigger deals, right? But like my portfolio is probably around like 80-ish. And then there's ones where I'm sharing it with other people where, I own 10% of a 40 unit building type of thing.
Yeah.
So I can, you want the podcast answer or the real answer?
Always the real answer. So as far as along your journey, did you make any specific mindset shifts to get to where you're at? I feel like that's what holds any of us back is what we're thinking about, our fears. How did you slowly transition from full-time W-2 to full-time real estate investor? Was it a mindset shift of saying like, that's who I am? Like you identified as a new person?
Yeah, and I think that's tough. And I think there's probably people in the room going through this now too. Like if you're just starting, like go tell your family, like, oh, I'm doing this. And like, if they're not into it, they're just like, yeah, whatever. Like it's weird. It's like all of a sudden, like this is who you are. Like we came out with a podcast and like most of my friends knew like maybe I had a building or two, but they had no idea. Like it's not something we talk about, when you're having beers or whatever. And so like it is like a true like identity shift. Like, no, this is what I do now. Which is, it's scary, it's good, it is something I didn't think through. And then when it's happening, it's like, oh man, I'm in perception a new person.
Did you have any routines that helped you, I guess, shift? Do you have evening routine, morning routine?
I'm a morning guy, so I don't do like a true morning miracle, but I get up early, I do it early, and I work out maybe 3 to 4 times a week. Like I'm up early. That's my little peace of mind. I'm not as religious as some people on it, but that's what I try.
Okay. What time do you get up?
So this is kid dependent, but I would say like 5:30 to 6, because the whole house is up by about 6:15.
Yeah. And then morning miracle, I think that's Savers, right? Savers is what? Silence, affirmation, visualization, and exercise. R. Anyone else? Read, and S is scribe. Boom. Okay. That would have been embarrassing. Couldn't get them all. And so, one of the favorite quotes I just heard too is belief before ability. I think there's nothing more important than like really identifying who we are before we get there. I know that's just been a monumental shift for me. Is like, I already know for a fact who I am, where I'm going. And I think too often we do get scared to talk about, at least I did for a long time, get scared to talk about, with our friends or anyone else that I'm a real estate investor or that I'm going to become a real estate agent, because we fear that judgment of, well, what happens if we don't succeed? And I think for me, it took a long time to battle all those thoughts and really kind of create an identity. What would you say to your friends now? Like, what is your identity? Do you say I'm a real estate investor? Do you say I'm a real estate agent? Do you say you're in property management?
I'd say investor. I don't know. Depends on who's asking me, I guess. No, but I'd say I'm an investor. I agree, wholeheartedly. You gotta just lean into it, man. You're gonna be, when you're 60, 70 years old, you're like, I should have taken that shot. So I should have done, like, you're always gonna say that I should have done this, so just do it now. Like, you're not gonna be, even if you fail, all flat on your face, like, you can live comfortably if knowing you took the shot. What's
kind of your end goal now? What's your vision for your company? Where do you guys want to head? What's your direction?
Yeah, so right now we really want to get to a point where I want to pretty much double the rental portfolio. And that's about where I want to be. I think that's a very good, healthy number where it doesn't get out of control. Where rental income, it allows you to do kind of whatever you want from that point. We want to keep flipping houses. Like, we thoroughly enjoy it. Like, putting out really, really good product is fun, right? So, and when we get to a point where we're picky and choosy, and not because like, hey, we need to do X amount a year, like, it'll become even more enjoyable. Do
you have a specific why for what you're doing? When you get double your portfolio, you'll be, millions of dollars. What's the reason behind it all?
Yeah, man, I got 4 kids. It's all that's gonna pay for like 1 year of college at this rate.
Yeah, that's so true. I think a lot of us struggle with our why in the beginning now. I think if we don't have families or we don't have that, and I think once we can identify why we want to do what we do, it makes everything a lot easier. Are you a visualization person? Do you set goals, or you just do what you do?
I'm not huge on like I've done the vision boards in the past. I think what's more important for me is journaling and doing like those check-ins, those 90-day, like, this is what I said I was going to do. I wrote it down. What did I do? Why did it go wrong? And like having an objective critique of myself via writing. Like, that's the way my brain works.
So is that just something you do in your journal? You do a 90-day check-in, or what is that?
A quarterly check-in.
Okay. How many other people do quarterly check-in? Show of hands. 1 person? Oh man, we got to get you guys on the quarterly check-in. But yeah, for me, that's the same thing. Quarterly, our company Quality Builders runs on Traction. That's a quarterly check-in. I think Jason maybe runs on Traction too. Just that quarterly event, I do a quarterly fast. every quarter as well. Anything I can do to reset, because I feel like that 90-day mark by day 75, I'm freaking back down where I don't want to be. And I need that quarterly check-in to reset and realign. I think it's too easy to get out of alignment. And then once we get out of alignment, we lose the habits we want to have the identity we want to have. And because I believe our habits end up becoming our identity. Kind of from what all of the questions I've asked, all I can see from what you've done is really just continue to stack from small to big, right? You started with small flips, you built your way up, you started networking on kind of a small scale. Now you're the host of the podcast. Would you say, if you had one piece of advice for someone who is where you were at in 2013, what would it be?
I'd say commit. A lot of people are interested in real estate, and there's a quote like, "You're interested, you'll do what's convenient, and if you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes." Right? There's a big difference there, but it's subtle. Of, hey, I'm interested in this. I'm going to go to the meetups. I'm going to go on right to, all right, this is what's going to happen. Right? No matter what gets thrown my way, this is happening. I think you need your mindsets there when things get hard, because they will get hard. Like, you'll be able to find that solution. So that's probably like very simplistic and very kind of a little fluffy, but like you need your mindset to a committed mindset. Like that's the answer. Everything else will fall into place if you have that at the start.
Who's committed to be a real estate investor in the room?
Oh, me.
Boom. Everyone's committed. That's right. Last question. When things go wrong, which they always do, especially in construction and renovation, what do you do when adversity hits?
I allow myself 10 seconds to freak out, and then I pull together. So I allow myself 10 seconds, drop a few F-bombs and say, all right, what are we going to do now? I think the biggest thing you can do when you're in a situation is to elongate the timeline, right? If you just think that, if I give you a random date, like 3 years ago, so what's the biggest problem you're dealing with at that day? You wouldn't be able to tell me. Because 3 years ago, we're going down 1,000 different problems. But at that time, you were probably losing sleep and freaking out about it. Right? These things just, they happen. They're going to happen. They're going to keep happening. Like, you can't get stuck in that mode. You gotta realize in the grand scheme of things, like, this isn't a big deal, right? And even just life-wise, like, this is not a big deal compared to all things that could be going wrong. Take a deep breath, and then, okay, let's start marching towards a solution. What's the first step towards a solution? Like, don't try to solve it all at once. It's complicated and hairy. Like, what's the first step? Okay, what's the next step? Who do I need to call to get involved here? Every problem is solved.
Yeah, there's a good book called Everything is Figure Outable by Marlo Ferret or something like that. But yeah, everything is figure outable. I always remind myself, ABZ, where am I at now? What's my minimum or my most important next step? And then Z, like, where am I going? What's my end goal? And you don't need to worry about C, D, E, and F if you just figure out what B is. Yeah. What's the best way for everyone to get a hold of you? If someone in the room could help you, is there something specific you need help with?
So if you don't subscribe to the podcast, I'd ask you to give us a listen. Like, this is something, huge passion project, straight up Chicago investor. This is something that Mark and I put a ton of time into and we're very proud of. I believe my Instagram handle is T Shallcross 723. Someone's got to double check that for me. My cell 773-655-4397. Happy to share real estate at that time.
Okay, yeah, and I think, yeah, Straight Up Chicago Investor is on Facebook Club. They're on Instagram as well, and they're probably on every platform that you can download podcasts and YouTube as well.
Yeah.
I'm with Quality Builders. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. And yeah, I don't go on TikTok too much, but we're doing stuff on there. And so, yeah, I always ask everyone to invite more people when we come and make sure you network with as many people as possible while you're here. You can probably find a real estate agent, property manager, flipper, someone who's just a little bit ahead of you on your journey. I always remind everyone to embrace getting comfortable being uncomfortable, walking up to someone, introducing yourself. I think the stat is like 95% of people are too afraid to walk up to someone and they want someone to talk to. So if you can be that 5% that walk up to them, I think you'll be a success at the end of the day. Any questions for Tom? 6-digit flip questions? Jason.
Your best and worst project.
Best and worst project.
There's a lot of. All right. So I guess I'll start with the worst. These aren't horror stories. I can tell those as well. Where we have fallen apart is when we have taken on a project that's, oh, this will be easy, we'll be in and out, low risk. Like we've created a model that we follow. We get away with it. Like the condo in Lincoln Park. We put this bungalow in Belmont Creative. And they're easy, like when we get it out, no big deal. And biggest pain in the ass. We'll have like these 600 you guys go down in this little condo. I'm sitting here fighting with Asian and worry about something stupid. So those are the two. We've had two little guys in the last 2 years that ate up a tremendous amount of time. I can go on like horror stories. I think the worst one we had was there's a 2-unit in 3309 right with a little square. The project was fine, everything was fine, but we had water coming back in from the city, which we found out, and there's no bubble box, no V-box to automatically just turn the water off. So this is something you just spent hundreds of $1,000s, finish the basement, and it's like a ship, like just coming up. And it's like in the city, just like, oh, it's gonna be out there next Thursday, like as you're just watching this happen to you. We did have drain tile installed, so it was like kept it from going upstairs. But that was a very, very frantic 48 hours. Best deals we've had, I'll get that, but one thing I've noticed, the stuff I've owned the longest performs the best. Like I do my annual, just what it is. That deal that was marginal, 6 years ago is outperforming the best deal I did last year. Just going back to time is the biggest asset here. It doesn't mean go buy something and be reckless, but there's something to be said of like the long-term ramifications of real estate. And every year I go out, I'm like, what else this guy got best performance? That was a mediocre deal. But it's true. Time is so important to us. But we've done a few, like some of these bigger ones where we've had something phase out at like call it 1718, and it's been a trooper. Like we got every penny out of the deal and then some. And now you have an asset where it's coming around $2 million and like no skin in the game. And it's like, it's like when you read the books, like, well, this does happen. That's a lot.
Mark. What's your strategic vision 5 years from now?
I would like to get to a point where the rental portfolio is probably done. Right. And I don't need 10x, and I don't like where if I'm double where I'm at now, like that monthly income is very good. Right. And just you sit back and operate that and feel pretty good about life. I don't have this wild, crazy vision to, hey, we're gonna go to these other states. We're gonna go like it's pretty simple. It's a gradual continuation of what we're doing today. We can keep doing that and get to that point. Like then all of a sudden, like you don't have to do it. You don't have to flip a house when you want. Like you have that much rent coming in money. It opens the door to make decisions. Kind of boring answer to this.
Who do you use and what do you do for your design? We design and we should have an architect, designer.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. So we work with Pavlicek Architect, same with Pavlicek, a shout out here. He's done a very good job for us. We pull from a lot of previous jobs, right? So we're at a point now where we're kind of pulling almost not templates. A lot of times we'll get the agent who's helping us, like if they help us purchase the property and they're going to be selling on the back end, we pull them in. Because we're going to say like, hey, it's going to be, a 3-2 upstairs. He's like, no, it's got to be a 3-3. We want to hit this mark. Like he's more of a, not true design, but like we got to check these boxes. The number I'm giving you, like these things that can happen. And And then we'll pull in other people too, like my GC has a great relationship with like the tile company, we use Fine Line. They'll sit down there all day and we'll pick out the tile, right? Like we're leveraging our suppliers on a lot of stuff too. We don't have like we don't hire like a designer. So it's influence from all these people, and just kind of piecing it together.
So the question was, how do you analyze a deal when someone's bringing it to you? What's your kind of process?
Yeah, so even before that, I think what's fortunate for us because we play in specific areas and we're not everywhere, is we have a really strong baseline of what things should be, what rent should be, what price should be. Like it's very quick. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, this bundle for you in Jeff Park at 350," I know right away that there's nothing. Like, no, there's no way to make that non-report unless it's already kind of happened. So we have a strong baseline where decisions get easier. But we look at things in a couple different factors. If it's a single family flip, the data points are going to be purchase price, how much we have to put into it, our holding costs, and what we get out of it. Right? And you look at those 4 data points, purchase price is there, give or take, whatever discount you get, figure out the other 3 data points. Holding cost is very easy to calculate. The rehab, we're at a point now where we can get pretty close to that. And it's just a question of, all right, well, then what can I get on that? And we look at rentals in the very same fashion. It's not just the cash flow per month and those numbers. It's what am I going to own compared to what am I going to do? Right? What is this going to do to my net worth? If I got to refi out, and maybe if I'm going too fast, but like I'm going to refi out at, when it's all stabilized and I'm going to get a loan for 75% of that value, how much money am I actually needing in this deal? Right? Like what's my liquidity compared to, the money I put in for the file? So those are the data points that I would take and then make a decision. Did that answer the question? Or?
Yeah, but it's actually slow process, long time to start as outside. And now you are north of Boston and then certain areas. So it's a kind of you went too much right now and then decided this is what I want.
Yes. I think the 2 biggest things is just some like rationality. My next, I don't want to really say don't invest in Southside. There's plenty of money going down. There's people killing it down. For me, I'm from here. From here, I mean, Orange Park, Jeff Park, like this is old. Like this is very easy, and I feel very comfortable knowing the areas. And then also, we have a very experienced general contractor. It's not the best use of time to do $50,000 flips. Our best use of time is to take on 400 or 500K flips. Like that's what we should be doing. And you can't do that in an area where the ARVs are 500. You can do that in an area where the ARVs are 1.3, 1.6, 1.7x7. So like that kind of also dictates our decisions. But I don't want to take it as like, oh yeah, like this is what everyone should be doing. Like that is very dependent on your skill set and what you have available to you.
Wonderful. So the question was just, what's your buy box almost? Are you looking for tear downs? Are you looking for full remodels? Are you taking down walls and putting in trusses? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so we've never torn down a house. There's a couple of reasons for that, but we're all just not super competitive there. There's certain companies that's what they do. And they build spec homes like Sean, like he builds 70 of these things and he's got a system for it. And every time we were to bid on a piece of land, his construction's gonna be less than mine, you can pay more for the land, like I'm gonna lose that battle sometimes. What we've gotten very good is those big funky rehabs that are more pain in the ass than new construction, but no one wants to do them. Right, and then incorporate some of that charm from the existing building, right? Lies like old gravestones or old brick buildings, there's something to be said about, the nuances and just the layout and the bump outs on the side. You can get pretty creative there and almost stick out better than a new construction home. So we just by default, like we have fallen into this category of, I call it gut rehabs. And then new construction, like, hey, we got a lot of work to do it, but we don't end up those panels, like we lose to true spec development right now.
Ask questions.
So they're.
Correct, we'll take on anything from 1 to 12 years type of thing.
This part, there's other, there's our statute that. Why we initially chose this, chose like 2 to 4 units on the back.
Yeah, so, well, one, because we want to keep as much as we possibly can, like that's the end goal, we want to have as many units, in these areas as we can. We flip because for 2 reasons, one, it's income, and 2, on the north side, you can't make a single family home for the numbers. The price point versus rent does not calculate. So you can't, or I should say you can't, but it's very hard to find a bungalow up there. If you're gonna pay 400K, it's gonna rent like 2,200, those numbers will never work for you, that what the pays are. So like by default, we flip those every time. To more directly to your question, like the 2 to 12 unit space, that's a very big space for us because, well, let's call it a 6 to 12. There's a lot of house hackers, a lot of people who, you know, they can buy a house hack, but they're not gonna buy that 6 to 7 unit yet. They're not there in the journey yet. It's a smaller pool to find it. And let's say, like I said, I mentioned I work with like friends properties, but to Jeff Weinberg's of the world, they're not gonna get down into that space. So just a smaller group of people that are playing in the area. And I truly believe Chicago has an abundance of that inventory. You go down like in Forest Park, every block, the end property is gonna be a 4 to 8. Right, that's the end property on that 35-foot lot is gonna be a 4, 6, or 8. So there's a decent amount of that I feel as well.
All right. Well, everyone, Tom's the man. So make sure you guys come up and talk to me after this, and happy networking.